Good morning. Welcome to another full day of food. The kids are having some toast for breakfast and bananas. This is the homemade sourdough sandwich bread I made. I do plan to, my sourdough's pretty full, so I do plan to make some more sourdough bread today, so maybe I'll show you that process today so you can see how I make this really simple sandwich bread. Here's my breakfast for today. I made my typical smoothie. I have this just about every day. It is almond milk, cottage cheese, frozen strawberries, collagen powder, and vanilla whey protein powder. That is my breakfast. I'm gonna drink this up. I'm gonna get started on that bread, so I'll show you that process and drink a coffee. Get all that done in the next little bit here. Okay, I'm ready to make the bread. I have the first step going, which is warming up some milk, because that's the first ingredient for the sourdough bread. So this sourdough bread recipe I'm going to share with you, it's not the typical, as you saw the sandwich loaf sitting on the cutting board, it's not the typical artisan style sourdough loaf of bread. It's kind of a cheat recipe in a way, that's what I call it, because it's not just sourdough doing all the work, all the rising and stuff. I do add yeast to this loaf as well. So because of that, I can get this bread going really quickly. Like the whole process is probably, it can be 2 hours, and I have bread, fresh bread, ready to go. Typically, if you were making full sourdough bread, it would take hours and hours. It has to be rising for like 8 to 12 hours before you can bake it, and so on. I do want to get into making sourdough bread like that. I actually really want to get myself a, I always forget the name of it, a cast iron Dutch oven. So this recipe kind of has the simplicity of just regular sandwich bread, but with the added benefits of health-wise of the sourdough. I will of course leave the recipe down in the description box so you can check that out too, but for now I just wanted to kind of show you the process. So I have my milk in the bottom of my KitchenAid mixing bowl, and then I got my yeast out of the fridge. I'm gonna put 2.5 teaspoons. Now I add my sourdough. So I'm just gonna scoop in and get 1 cup. A 1/4 cup of olive oil, a tablespoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of salt. The last ingredient I need to add now is flour. The recipe calls for 4.5 cups of flour. My 1 cup is always really messy with the sourdough starter, so I always take my 3/4 cup, and I will usually do 1.5 cups of my whole wheat flour, and then I'll do 3 cups of my all-purpose flour. Now I need to put the bowl onto the mixer, attach my dough hook, and start mixing. I just let it mix and knead until it's all like one ball. If it's a little bit sticky, I would add a little bit more flour, but usually this recipe just seems to turn out just right with those exact ingredients. So that looks about done. I always just touch it to see, like, yeah, it feels really good. A little bit tacky, but not at all sticky. So now I'm just gonna take that off of the machine, pull that nice ball of dough out, and then I just take my olive oil and splash just a little bit into the bottom of my bowl. Kind of try to spread that around, and then I just take my ball of dough, mix that in, kind of roll it around so that the dough is not going to stick to the bowl. Then I just grab a tea towel, put that over. You want this to go in a warm place to rise well. Most often actually is I'll just stick it in this room back here. That's where like our hot water heater is and stuff, and so that room often is quite warm. So I will stick this bowl in there. The recipe will say 30 minutes, and sometimes at 30 minutes, that's great. I can take it out and do the next step. But sometimes it takes an hour for it to rise. Or sometimes I get busy doing school with the kids and I don't even check it for an hour, and that's fine too. It's not bad if you leave it for longer. but once it's about doubled in size is when it's time to put it into the bread pans. Now I just poured myself my coffee just from the drip coffee maker over there. I put just a little bit of 10% cream in there, and yes, it's like 9:30. That is about the time I'm usually having my first coffee of the day. I'm not someone who gets up and needs a coffee first thing. I work out first thing usually, try to get a lot of water in me. Then when I sit down to start school with the kids, that's when I have my first coffee. Just got my bread dough out here. It's risen nicely. So I've got my olive oil again, and I am just gonna put a little bit onto each pan. Okay, more than a little bit. It's a little bit heavy-handed there. And then I just have this nice little brush so I can spread the oil. Now I'm gonna get my dough here. Just gonna punch it down, and then I'll show you how I shape my bread loaves. So I take my whole ball of dough here and I try to split it about in half. My loaves are often not quite uniform in size, and that's okay. So I take it, and I'm just gonna take it like this and kind of tuck everything down under, because then the top of my bread loaf will look nice, even if the bottom doesn't look as nice. The top will look really nice and smooth. So I put that there. Now, if you look at this recipe, what does the recipe say? The recipe says to spread some butter on top of the loaf. I think is that before it goes in the oven? No, I think it's after. I always skip that step, so you will notice that if you look at the recipe though. So there's my two bread loaves. See, you can tell this loaf is gonna be a bit bigger than this one, but it's as simple as that. I'm going to again put my towel on top, tuck this back in the back room, and then it should only take about 30 minutes for these to be kind of domed over the top of the bread pans and ready to bake. These loaves of bread, look how nice those look. They're ready to go into the oven, and they just bake at 400 degrees for 25 minutes. I'm just making some lunch now. I am making some macaroni and cheese, so I'm just using this. We're going like the homemade macaroni route today. This whole grain macaroni pasta. Oh, it's been a long time since I've made this, so I'm wondering how much. I think I'm gonna do this full, this is like a quarter box, third box maybe, plus one more box. My pasta is all cooked, and so I've drained it, and I'm just gonna add a bit of butter there. Let that sit and melt. Now that the butter is melted, I'm gonna reach over here and grab my big pile of melted cheese. Now that my cheese is all melted, I would usually add sour cream, but I apparently am out of sour cream, so I just have some plain yogurt, which is, I think, basically the same as sour cream. So I have a little bit left here. I'm just gonna pour all of that in. What is the difference between sour cream and plain yogurt? They just seem so similar to me. I'm also gonna pour in a little bit of milk. I chopped up some ham over here. I'll get that mixed in too. And also some salt and pepper. There's our macaroni and cheese. I haven't made this in a while, but it looks so good, right? I'll definitely set ketchup to the table. I also chopped up some tomatoes because myself and my oldest child, who appreciates more grown-up flavors, we like to put tomatoes on our macaroni and cheese rather than ketchup. And then I also just have some raw veggies, a few extra carrot sticks I had in the fridge from last night, some red peppers and some cucumbers. That's lunch. I will also set milk to the table. I know the kids will like to drink milk at lunch. Okay, final product. I just took these out of the oven. So that's how I make our sourdough sandwich bread. I make this bread, so this recipe makes 2 loaves of bread. You know, like I said, it can only take, today I did let it rise for an hour each time, so like it's almost noon now, but it can take shorter if you just let it rise for those 30 minutes, so it's pretty quick and easy. I make this sourdough sandwich bread at least once a week. Often I'm making it twice a week. Every time I make it, I leave one out that we'll eat over the next day or so, and then the other loaf goes into the freezer. So I made 2 loaves today. I think I have about 3 loaves in the freezer as well, and it freezes really well. I take it out, let it defrost, usually overnight. We'll slice it, toast it, and it's just great out of the freezer. I know I've had questions on this bread since I always talk about it, since I always make it, and so I wanted just to show you this step-by-step process of how exactly I make it. Let me know down in the comments if you try out this recipe for yourself. For snack today, we've got plenty of produce, bananas, apples, and oranges. I also have this tray of sausages I took out. That'll be for a little bit later at supper time, but each of the kids start snack with either a fruit or a yogurt. Zara had some yogurt with some brown sugar, right? Yeah. You put brown sugar in it. And then we have some of these crackers. These are from Costco. I don't have the box anymore. I just had this package still in the pantry, but it's these sweet potato crackers. They're really, really good. Here's my snack. I just spread some peanut butter on a banana. And now I'm just having another coffee. I'm gonna get started making supper now. What I am making is a sausage stir fry that we will have over quinoa. This meal, oh, it's delicious. It's so good. I think the kids are kind of learning to like it. Some of them do, some of them it's not their favorite, but I'm really excited about this dinner tonight. First, I'm gonna chop up some veggies. So I've got a couple of bell peppers, an onion, some garlic, and sometimes that would be all I would do. Well, I would probably do 3 peppers in this case, but I also have some broccoli, and I thought that that would be a nice addition to all these veggies. All my veggies are chopped up here. You can see I didn't chop them like super small as if I was, you know, putting them with, I don't know. A lot of dishes I would make, I would chop the peppers and onions really small, but they're just a little bit bigger for this dish. So I've got some water heating up here, and that's going to be for the quinoa. And then I have this pan over here warming up. I'm going to put some coconut oil onto it and then saute all of these veggies. My veggies are done. They are quite soft. Probably softer than I would even typically do them just for myself, but I want to keep the kids in mind. Sorry, you're getting all fogged up here. So I'm going to transfer my veggies into this glass bowl, and then I can cook up the sausages on this pan. My meat is all cooked, so I'm going to add the veggies back in. Look how good that mixture looks. I feel like you can't see it well enough. Look at that. Doesn't that look so good? Okay, I'll zoom you back out again. And now I'm gonna add some soy sauce. And I think I'll add a bit of barbecue sauce too. Often I do it just like this, no barbecue sauce added, but I'm feeling like barbecue sauce would be a good addition, and in trying to get my kids to like this more, I think barbecue sauce will help with that. Okay guys, look at this. This is making my mouth water. The kids are outside, so it's been a nice quiet getting dinner ready time here. But that's the sauce, and it's going to be served over top of this quinoa. Just poured myself a disappointingly small amount of coffee. This was all that was left in the coffee pot. The last thing I'm having tonight is this cream soda sparkling water. Thank you for watching today's video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. See you next time.